Okay, y'all. You're over at the Jack Blood channel. I'm trying to do a live broadcast. I've not had any problems up to this point. This is kind of bizarre. I do know is that we just started the broadcast before I wanted to lead in with some music like anyone else does, and I use my own music to do that. I guess you hear that, and we'll see if we can edit it. What I need to know, if you guys are chatting with me right now, and let's wait till someone shows up, is can you hear me? All right, man. Why am I bothering to do this? Is what I want to know. That's just, yeah. All right. If you're in the chat now, and if you're listening to this, okay, you can hear me now. I don't understand. Somebody explain this to me. You guys are all experts in technology. Explain to me why you heard the music leading in, but not any of the actual talking I was doing. That didn't work out at all. I was really hoping I could, use my own music to pepper my show with because I've been giving copyright strikes going back retroactively a decade because of 10-second bumper music. So since I've recorded about 1,000 songs, I have a lot of my own music where I own the copyrights, and I was trying to do that and make it kind of cool and then come in and start talking, but apparently that didn't work. I don't know. And then he's like, I hear you now. Bye. Just jumped off. So this is another reason. This is a whole. So what I was going to do is recap day 6 of the Alex Jones defamation trial, and it's gone to a jury. Now the case is all wrapped up. It's a civil case versus a criminal case. Okay. You guys do know that. That has certain constitutional aspects into it, or justice or jurisprudence, habeas corpus. It changes everything. And that's kind of what we learn if we study the law. But I don't know. I guess we don't do that. So I was going to do that and wrap that up because I had some pretty good notes, and I've been watching for 2 days. I haven't uploaded for 2 days. And since it's going to the jury now, I was kind of going to give you my effect and then see what you guys think. If you've been watching the trial, or if you already had preconceived notions and had made your judgments before you even heard the trial, I wanted to get your feedback on that and kind of tell you where I was coming from, because in the last 2 days, I've learned quite a bit, but I'm wondering now if I should even be doing this. It seems like an exercise in futility. Well, so I mean, I guess, I don't know, according to definitions of media and journalism, I guess I could say anything just because of the amount of people that listen to me. But maybe that's the first question, is if you're reaching millions of people and spending millions and millions of dollars a year to buy radio station time and shortwave time and media time, that's pay to play, by the way. Would you be more responsible or less responsible for what you say? Should anyone be responsible? Should people just get on the air, or this little page I have here on YouTube in the darkest corner of YouTube, and even say anything? And what, if anything, that I do say, am I going to be held accountable for? I mean, I personally hold myself accountable for everything I say, and I always have. One of the reasons I fell out with Alex Jones was because they were twisting the words of John Kerry, in that he admitted that the World Trade Center towers were a controlled demolition and it wasn't Al Qaeda. Well, we all know John Kerry didn't say that. And I wasn't like, this is complete bullshit. This is a title to get clicks for people to go to your website. I was like, I just don't interpret it that way. And so I'm welcome to my opinion. Apparently not on the Alex Jones show, because I was hosting the Alex Jones show when that happened. If you didn't know, I used to host the Alex Jones show, sometimes for weeks at a time, every day, 3 hours a day. The show moved to 4 hours a day when I was taking my 2 hour show, and the hour above me became available. If you didn't know, I used to follow Alex Jones. I don't follow anyone, but my show used to air live after the Alex Jones show every day, Monday through Friday, on his syndicated network, this syndication network called the Genesis Communications Network. They asked me to join. I joined. I took the time. And then the hour ahead of me became available. And like a dummy, I said, I'm going to take that hour now and make my show a 3 hour show, which Alex heard because he listened to my show every single day and called in like half the time, hundreds of times, called into my show unsolicited, and heard that and went, oh, I'm going 4 hours a day and you're not going 3. And took that third hour from me, but from you. And has ever since then been doing a 4 hour show. Yeah, that's one of the things I did. Speaking of 4, we got the big 4 listening right now. The 4 horsemen all tuned into this broadcast. And so I don't really care that it's not getting any attention and no one listens to me live and doesn't want to integrate with what we're doing on the chat. I mean, gets archived, and we have been getting hundreds of views from the stuff we archive. So I guess I'm on. I've taken the time to come on, so I guess I'll just keep going. I don't know. It is a little depressing. So that's where I'm at. I'm betting right now, any of you people listening right now with a YouTube channel would do way better than me. So, and I look at that and I go, who am I talking to? But as I said, I was talking to my friend last night, about music, and we all play music, and you might do a show, book a show, you go move all your gear. I don't know if any of you guys are musicians, but it's not easy. Just the whole booking the show is hard. Promoting it is hard. Bringing all your stuff down, maybe in the middle of winter in Seattle where it's pouring down rain, that's hard. Setting it all up, testing it, getting it right, practicing, so you don't sound like a complete idiot when you're playing. And this is all hard. And then people have excuses, so maybe only 10 people go to your show. It's happened to me. I'm a booker. I book a club, and so it's funny. If I book the club and no one shows up, it's my fault. If I'm the band playing and someone booked me, it's still my fault. It's always my fault. It's so funny. But what I was saying is it doesn't really matter, because if you're filming it or recording it, you can put it online. And then I've had shows where 10 people showed up, but 1,000 people saw it online. So, I mean, I guess that's important. It happens after the fact. And really the energy that I like to work off is what happens live. That's kind of in my blood. That's no pun intended. That's how I work. And I think what we'll do now is we'll get the video camera going, and I'll show you my expertise in nunchucks. Would that be, I'll show you how to do it. I can train you. We used to call them Choco sticks back in the day. I'll train you how to do that if you want. Come to my house and want to take a lesson. It's brutal, because while you're learning nunchucks, you hit yourself a lot and you get a lot of bruises. I still, to this day, as I practice those. But I'm pretty sure that I could take down almost anyone with those things. I'm still pretty good at it, even as an old man. All right, so fuck it. Let's just go forward, I guess. I don't know. I want you guys to ask questions. So the first question is, have you watched the trial? Yes or no? As I said on the last broadcast, a lot of people think the judge is unfair. I like to walk in other people's shoes. So let's walk in the shoes of the judge. Dude, there goes my dog, absolutely crazy. All right, so we're gonna do that now, and I'll be right back. She's attacking another dog. I gotta go get her. Hey, could you not do that? Get in here. Stop barking. Yeah. You don't want to come to my house, or even walk by it. Shit. What I wouldn't do what I would, and if I'm a lawyer and I should have been one, well, what I would have done is tell my client to STFU. Like, don't comment during the trial. Don't say anything that's going to piss off the judge or the jury or anyone that's deciding how much money you're going to be penalized for being a loose cannon and sloppy in your research, because that is the truth. No matter what you guys think, I don't care if you're indoctrinated. Go look at, if you watch this trial, you'll see how all the claims that were definitely Alex was right, Alex was wrong. And he used that to defame and denigrate people who lost their kids at Sandy Hook. So, I mean, that is a fact. But what he did do was got up on his show and talked about how the judge is a pedophile and works with pedophiles because she had some connection to CPS. I mean, you understand that this is the work they do. It's guilt by association, but not on you. Like, you can't be charged with guilt by association. You can't be under the umbrella of kill the messenger. It's just the judge in your case and the jury. So he called the judge a pedophile this week or last week. I mean, while this trial is going on, and then called the jury basically know-nothings. They don't know what planet they live on. They're blue collar. I guess that the chain of that information came with how people get selected for the jury and who goes and is on a jury. Had nothing to do with these very people that were selected on the jury. And if you look at the jury questions in the Alex Jones defamation trial, some of them seem to be on his side. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming that there'll be almost no resolution as this case goes to the jury. Whatever resolution that there is will be debated, and then of course there'll be all kinds of motions to repeal and reject whatever verdict there is. This could go on for years, which is exactly, if I'm Alex's feathered hair, Porsche driving, Eric Holder appointed lawyer, is what I would do. One of the things that came out today was that Alex's very expensive Eric Holder appointed lawyer. If you guys don't know who Eric Holder is, please look him up. He was the gun-grabbing attorney general appointed under Obama. You appointed this very attorney to be a prosecutor who then, I'm not saying, but most likely, if I start looking into it, and I'm careful where I step because I've been warned by the cartels, but probably was protecting the cartels and Eric Holder and everyone else. It's just pretty ironic that that's his lawyer. But he accidentally sent all of Alex's text messages and all the things they said they didn't have in discovery and couldn't find, which either makes Alex Jones stupid or a liar. A perjurist in court, because civil trials still have perjury. They got all the text. It was kind of as Alex himself said, a Perry Mason moment in the trial. And I assume if the trial went on, and I think they closed appropriately, it's pretty damaging stuff. Yeah, it is. I'm going to keep going for whatever reason. Before I get to if I'm on the know-nothing blue-collar jury, how I would rule in this case, I've been insulted pretty hard, and my intelligence has been insulted almost the entire way. These are people, let's keep in mind one thing that I used to say about Alex Jones myself. That guy's got total recall. He has a pretty good memory. I'm not going to say photographic memory. I myself have a pretty good memory. Remember documents I read, 20 years ago and can almost quote them verbatim. And I think that's what people like. But all of a sudden, when the Alex Jones people are cross-examined by the plaintiffs in the case, they have no memory of anything, which as a jurist insults my intelligence. It's like, oh, well, you remember absolutely everything, and you can elaborate on some of the most, complex issues of the day, but you can't remember your name. I mean, that's insulting to my intelligence. And I don't know where the jury's coming from in this case. But I'm going to tell you, if I was a juror, because I've watched the entire trial now and it's over, except for the judgment. I'll tell you in a minute where I'm from. Now, one of the things that happened yesterday, the defendant Neil Heslin was on the stand, who Alex Jones also just, I guess, his lawyer didn't tell him to not call the guy that's across the aisle from you in this case, the plaintiff in this case, to not call him stupid and slow and quote unquote on the spectrum, like he has autism or something. Probably wouldn't have done that, because your apologies, of which he has been quite effusive, are pretty hollow when you do that. God, it's such a good thing you guys aren't interacting with me, because that would be really distracting. But yesterday, something came out that either I didn't know or I forgot. I mean, I'm not on trial, so I didn't study the case. To me, I'm just kind of winging it a lot of the times on some of this. But that Neil Heslin, the plaintiff in this trial, suing Alex Jones and Free Speech Unlimited, or whatever it's called, his parent company, decided after Sandy Hook to become a gun activist and therefore a public figure. That really dinged around in my brain for a minute. He is no longer the parent of a child that was murdered by, however it happened, shot in the head. The bullet went in his child Jesse. Bullet went in the front, right in the forehead, and blew out the whole back of his head. I mean, if you believe that, I do. He's no longer a grieving parent of a dead kid. He has now gone into the domain of being a public figure. I think that really matters. So at that point, anything that anyone said about the plaintiff, Neil Heslin, in this case, I think is fair game. And the idiot lawyer for Alex Jones, who sent his entire phone over to the plaintiff, the defense sent is all his texts and everything to the plaintiff, and just at the last day. These are people who did not want to disclose any of this, and then just did at the last day of the trial, which was ridiculous. In Alex Jones's own words, I thought it was your lawyers either are screwing you or they're just incompetent as all get out. He could have done a better job. He did ask the question, and that either I forgot or I wasn't aware of. If Neil Heslin, the plaintiff in the case versus Alex Jones right now in defamation, was a public figure who worked for, obviously, I'm sure you know the rest of it, gun legislation, in almost every way, he's available to comment on. Now, obviously, I think, there's a difference between countering his narrative of why we need to all give up our guns, which is what he did. Not saying I don't understand that. I mean, like my kid, most of you don't know this. My son was stabbed last year in the streets of Seattle, and so I feel it a little bit. And he's been sick before and in the hospital, and we weren't sure he was going to make it. So, I mean, I that's why I have empathy and compassion. And that's not just the only reason why I would normally have that. Probably my problem, and I can name a few others I know that it really bothered them, is I have too much empathy, and it might even be on the spectrum, so to speak. I might be a little retarded. Sorry, I'm not allowed to R word. I didn't mean that. I might be like mentally messed up because I have so much empathy for people, even people that hurt me, even someone like Alex Jones, who really attacked me and hurt me and ruined my life and my career on purpose, right? Like he did so many other people. I don't have a vendetta. That's one of the things that Neil Heslin said in his deposition, is that he had a vendetta. I mean, he shouldn't have said that. So, I mean, you get the feeling that at some point after Neil Heslin became the father of Jesse Lewis, who died at Sandy Hook, at some point, like, you feel for him, and he wants to do something and use the legacy of his son in a positive way, and maybe didn't know how to do it, and that's all fine and good. But once you become a public figure, you put yourself out there. So at some point, somebody should have told this father of this child that was gunned down, a 6-year-old child that was gunned down and shot in the head at the Sandy Hook Elementary mass shooting. Hey, once you go public like this, you're fair game. Once you become a public figure and an activist for something political, you can become fair game. I really think that. And what's his name? The Porsche driving, feathered haired Eric Holder appointed prosecutor who covered up allegedly the drug war and the mafia in Texas. At some point, he probably should have went a little harder on that, but I don't think the guy had a clue. I just don't know. So based on that testimony, and also Charlotte Lewis, who it was his ex-wife, a lot of the Sandy Hook people are divorced. I know Lenny Posner. A lot of these people got divorced. This happens when your child is brutally murdered. It's just usually, and I'm not saying this as a stereotype, but a lot of times the wife won't want to ever look at the husband because it reminds them of the son, and they just got to move on. And so a lot of times out of these tragedies, there is divorce and some extraneous things that happen that are pretty bad and just continue the trauma in your life. And we've got to consider that too. But I thought it was kind of interesting that Charlotte Lewis, who also has a foundation, which I think Alex Jones said today he wants to support, and I'll get to that in a minute, because I'm going to tell you what I think as a part of the jury, how I would award this. Hint, hint. At some point, she was asked, are you afraid of the lunatics out there that have been sicked on you because of Alex Jones? No, not just him. It's fair. But because he has the biggest platform, and, he'll tell you he's the greatest gift to media ever since Howard Stern. That was one of his things. Did you know that Howard Stern and Larry King were his idols in media? See, I also came up in the media with media idols. It wasn't those guys. But anyway, I'll tell you if you want to know. But what came out is that Charlotte Lewis, who has a child remaining, who lost a child, has a gun. She believes in protecting herself with firearms, which I found captivating. I don't know. It really interesting. Quite a dichotomy from her ex-husband, the other plaintiff in this case, Neil Heslin, who was anti-gun and went out and made himself a public figure versus gun. Charlotte Lewis now has a foundation to unify people, and I think that's a pretty good cause. So I guess I'll just wrap it up. The thing is, when Neil Heslin, the plaintiff in this case, was testifying, and I believe the plaintiff's lawyer asked, are you mad, or what is your feeling that Alex Jones isn't sitting here in the courtroom today to face you? And he called him a coward, I mean, hey, I would have done it. if you really are sorry for what you did, and which is he's constant, hey man, you say what you want about it, but he's constantly been very sorry, multiple mea culpas. He's his hearts and minds are with the parents and the kids and all that, but he wouldn't be in the courtroom facing off against the very guy that's suing him for defamation to hear his mostly heart-wrenching testimony about his son, and how a lot of the things that InfoWars put out was complete nonsense and very hurtful, and in some cases very damaging. And I just think that maybe that's the one thing that Alex Jones's lawyers, his Porsche driving lawyers, said was, don't come here, because he can't control himself, as we saw as he testified the last day, and two, he cannot control himself. What is it with the blinking? Do you guys know the heavy blinking? I guess he's very sick and coughs a lot and fidgets around and loses his mind. Like I said, I mean, I've known him personally, and I can tell you he's got a lot of tics and weird stuff that goes on, but can't control it. So maybe having him sit there while the guy suing him is testifying, I'm sure his lawyer said, don't be in here because you're not going to be able to control yourself. I'm going to give him that. He is a little bit of a coward, though. I mean, you want to face your accuser. There you have the chance. Sit down in the chair, take a Valium or whatever it takes. I think it was Adderall today. His eyes were like super pinned, but I don't want to be the one putting out misinformation. I'm kind of an expert in that field, and I'm going to give you my opinion anyway. And then the other thing is that Neil Heslin, the plaintiff in this case, has made several claims that people have shot at his house and yelled Alex Jones out of the car while they did it, and that'd be pretty gnarly if that happened. But no police report, and if there is one, it's kind of shady. If I'm a juror and I hear that, I'm like, why? Someone came and shot at your house, you didn't call the police, and there isn't an official police report, and that can be used against you now by the defense in this case. Like, why wouldn't you do that? And I don't like police, and I don't like reporting things, but I'm going to tell you right now, if someone shot at my house and yelled Alex Jones out the window, I'm going to probably do a report on it. Because mainly for me is that when I have to end up shooting that person, there'll be a record of past abuse, and I could maybe use that to defend myself when I've shot someone trying to kill me. So there were some major problems with that, and if Alex Jones did not testify, and we just left it there, as a juror, I'm not sure what I would do. I might slap you on the wrist and penalize you for a few $1,000,000, and maybe I mention, if I'm allowed to, that goes into the foundations for what these people believe in, and not into their pockets to go buy cars and houses and go to restaurants with, or what have you. I'm not accusing them of doing that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, they shouldn't get to have that money and spend it. But you believe in this stuff you believe in. You have all these foundations, and that would be kind of ironic that the Eric Holder attorney who took guns from people, who's now representing Alex Jones, ended up screwing up so bad that part of the judgment went to a foundation to take people's guns. Are you following me? Follow the bouncing ball, my friends. If they didn't put him on the stand, which, again, is idiotic. You have to know he can't control himself. If you push his buttons, I mean, this is how you find out who people really are. You push their buttons a little bit and see how they respond. You blow on their buttons. You don't even have to push them. And no weird pun intended here. Your client can't stop himself from going on his worldwide broadcast and calling the judge a pedophile, saying that the jury knows nothing, and They don't even live on planet Earth. That all came out in the trial. Calling the plaintiff, the guy that's suing you, dumb and potentially mentally impaired, and then going on and losing his shit for however many hours he was in testimony, and then, of course, being cornered and confronted to find out that he perjured himself constantly in the trial. I mean, they just shouldn't have put him up there. So if they would have not had his testimony, I would have said, I don't know, some token judgment, a couple $1,000,000, make it go to the foundation if I'm allowed to direct it or suggest that it goes a certain place, and we're all done. And lesson learned, hopefully, that if you say things that aren't true and it hurts people and you defame people in public, that there are consequences for that, whether you're alternative media, mainstream media, whatever. And believe me, I'm 1,000% down for holding the mainstream media accountable. I don't know how that's ever going to happen. I guess it's possible that we could all together, all of us listening to this show right now, we could all put together some kind, if we could find the lawyers to do it and someone to do pro bono on that, do a class action suit about how we were hurt by Russiagate or whatever it is. The mind manipulation and the falsehoods and the fake news of the general dinosaur media. Did you know Alex Jones coined that term, dinosaur media? No, he never coined anything. He stole it from somebody and took credit for it. That's how he rolls. So now I've changed my, if he had not testified and called me a dumbass and called the judge a pedophile and all the rest of it, I mean, I might have called the entire trial a hoax and scripted. I mean, it's just a civil trial. Yeah, they wouldn't disclose evidence. Yes, they were not judged guilty, but moving on to the penalty phase of the trial, they were not judged guilty. That's a criminal trial, but they would not hand over court-mandated discovery in the trial of is he culpable or not. Can it move to the next phase, the penalty phase of the trial? They refused to do that, which was dumb on their part. I'm sure there's a way around that, and they could have worked it, and maybe, who knows, we would have never got to this point. I'm pretty sure we were going to anyway, but still, you can air your case in the penalty phase of the trial, and nothing's going to happen to you other than the fact that here you are facing the world off on national TV on a trial. But they didn't do that. So call it a gambit. You people who play chess, you know what I mean by that. If you play hearts, shoot the moon. You accomplish that. You win that hand and most likely win the game. If you don't, you're in big trouble. Okay? I was playing backgammon with my friend yesterday. Leave open and hit me, and if you guys play backgammon, but it's risky. It's kind of a gambit, and that's what they did, and they lost. And so then we went into the penalty phase of the trial. So like I said, I mean, if it ended yesterday and Alex Jones didn't testify, sweating and coughing and blinking real hard and losing his shit all over the place and defying the judge's rules and whatever else, it just looks horrible. Come on, man, put on a face. Then I would have said couple of million. Hopefully it goes into the foundations to preserve the memory of Jesse Lewis. But after this, I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I don't think it's 150 million. He doesn't have it anyway. 50 million? I just don't know. What do you guys think? Uncover the news. That's my old webmaster mistress. Jones will never learn his lesson. He likes to cause chaos. Well, I like to cause chaos too, but not at someone else's expense. There's a big difference. Order out of chaos. That's funny because that's something that Paul Joseph Watson and Alex Jones and those guys used to say, and it's a form of the Hegelian dialectic that I certainly agree with. You can get order out of chaos, but he's the one causing the chaos. I'm going to go read your comments. My puppers. I know Barton Rice, my dog. She's a good girl. She is defending the house, but she always does it at the wrong time. I saw a report that said the attorney accidentally shared the texts and emails. I did cover that. He did. He's a dumbass. And it's the law that the plaintiff's attorney, in this case, Bankston, who took my deposition, if you don't know, I was deposed in the trial, didn't come up. My name didn't come up, and I'm kind of glad about it. He actually told the attorney, hey, you accidentally sent me all this stuff that was supposed to be submitted months ago in discovery. And if you don't object to it, it's mine in 2 days. I guess there's a certain amount of time that goes by. And then if you notify the dumbass defense attorney who's more concerned about his hair and his suits and his Porsche than, I guess, doing this trial, I don't know. He was accused at one point of purposely trying to derail the trial and get a mistrial. And I think that might have been his whole strategy going on. I don't know, because defending Alex Jones is probably not easy. Several lawyers have tried it and all failed. But yeah, I did see that, Barton Rice, and it was a huge mistake. Accidentally. Bro stabbed. Wow, that's a good name for a band. I don't know. Good name for a song. Be a good meme. WTF. He got bro stabbed. And Dino Riel looks like a bro to me. I remember the whole situation on GCN. That network was best when you and AJ were back to back. I know, back in the day, I think we really had it. Jupiter Jones. Finally made it, and I'm too late. Well, you can go back and listen to it, Jeff. We're 36 minutes in. I tried to start with some of my original music. I don't know. I'll figure out if I want to edit that or keep it on. I want to use my own music for bumper music so I don't get copyright strikes. Is that, even though it's probably horrible to some of you? You know me. All these years, decades, I like to integrate music into what we're doing. Sometimes it makes a good point. Yeah, uncover the news. Kristen, he went after the judge again. He doesn't just go after the judge in the trial. He called her a pedophile because she was involved with CPS. Now, we all know CPS has massive issues. But again, guilt by association. You don't like it when it's done to you, but you're more than willing to use it against the judge in your own case. Can we get over the whole idea that Alex Jones is super smart? Because apparently he's not, or he just can't control himself. Those two things go hand in hand. Sometimes being intelligent is controlling yourself in the right situation and not crash and burn. I don't know for what aim. Did he think that defending himself in front of his audience was more important than this trial, which could, I guess the damages could be up to $150 million. They'll take everything he hasn't transferred over to his dad and his kids and his wife and ex-wife. And well, no, not her, but anything he hasn't buried in the backyard that he makes, including the mansion he lives in and the cars he drives, all of that could be fair game. I mean, remember what happened to OJ? In the civil trial, not the big trial we all watch, but in the civil trial, he was found guilty in Santa Monica courts, and they just took all his money from there on out. I mean, that's how that could go. So even though you might have shielded and hid some of your money, okay. I also want to say this, because this is a guy, in my humble opinion, let's just put it that way, in my fucking opinion, this is a guy who can't control himself and can't help but lie, even to save his own life. Can't help it. He's going to spin and call it a lie or a mistruth, or there's all kinds of ways people say it. When politicians do it, we call them liars, don't we? They went over his early days of how he got started in the media. What a bunch of shit that was. Total lies. His dad basically started him in media, fronted him all the money, got him on KLBJ, right? Anyone could go and be a public broadcast TV guy. I was one. I had a show on Austin Public Access for a while. I've been on the Alex Jones. I've been on his own show, hosting his own show on public access on TV. I mean, anyone can do that. And I want to give credit where credit is due. That public access station in Austin, Texas was badass. They did stuff that I haven't seen in any other city. And I've been on public access here in Washington. My show is carried in public access in a bunch of different cities. Comcast would go and threaten people and get it taken off the air. So that was a pretty good thing. And I knew all the guys over there. I'm not going to mention them. I knew his producers, of his show. I knew all those people. But let's just be honest about how things happened. His dad has a lot of money and some connections in Austin, and got him his audition on KLBJ so he could have a Sunday show on KLBJ, his first radio show for real, where he'd have callers and all of that. None of this came out of the trial. No one challenged it. I guess I should have been the one questioning. I don't know, because I know all this, and I know it because I was there. And then once he passed the audition, it wasn't that he was so great that they gave him his show. They bought the time, like he does with most of his affiliates, and certainly with shortwave. They pay for the time, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands and $1 million a month. When you have millions of dollars a month net, you better say whatever it takes to pay it, or you're out of business. And that's the problem. Too much to lose. Thought I'd throw all that in. This is, I guess, why you listen to this. Reuters is covering it. I don't know. I'm reading your comments here. If you guys have a comment, go ahead and put it in. However many of you. I think we need a laser focus on the shooters and their online history prior to the shootings. What shooting? I don't know, Barton. What shooting? See, the problem with Sandy Hook is once the Fetzer and the Halbigs and whoever, James Tracy and I guess Steve Pachesnik, we found out all these guys had phony backgrounds and had lied about their experience. Duh. Once they poisoned the well, and CNN and Anderson Cooper and whoever were all too happy to put Fetzer on CNN and have him talk all about the hoax. Once that became the counter narrative, which Alex Jones is responsible for pushing hard against all warnings. Once that it never happened and it was a hoax, and remember at that point, nothing ever happened and everything was a hoax. I used to ask then, why are we talking about it? If it never happened, is it a big deal? Well, they're using it, Jack. I mean, like, why wouldn't they just kill the kids? They kill kids every day. Every single day. This, I hate to say it, but our country kills innocent children every single day. They don't fake it. Sometimes they do, but in general, after the fact, but in general, while it happens, they have no problem dropping drone bombs and whatnot and just shooting kids in the street. This is no problem. Torturing children in front of their parents. I mean, if anything, we're a little more civilized than back in the day where they torture you in the city square and put your head on a spike, okay? But this is what happens. So why not just do it? I never understood that. But my point is that we were investigating it and it just happened. When Sandy Hook happened, like anything else, like I'm listening to police scanners. I mean, I've got information. I'm ready to go. And I'm on the air at that time, too. If you remember, I went off for a long time, but I did have a radio show, was on the air. And I wanted to share that and ask those kind of questions and get to the bottom of that. But as soon as it came out, it was a hoax. Man, that just killed it. Not even worth investigating anymore, because anything you say is going to be put under the hoax umbrella. Well, that's pretty convenient. It's almost as if someone like Cass Sunstein who threaten to come after and ruin the entire alternative media, especially conspiracy talk radio. Next thing you know, everything's flat earth and hoaxes. So you can't, it's not even worth investigating at that point. I did keep doing it because I did want to know what happened. I'm never going to share my conclusions because they are really kind of half baked. One thing I know is that the children were murdered. Yeah, AJ is his own worst enemy. You're right, Jeff. All right, so I guess that's all your questions. Other than Kristen, he takes over Uncover the News, my old website. He takes over any movement and attacks anyone that steals his spotlight, and turns people against them. I'm going to reread that because this is the MO. This is where all the bodies are buried. This is what you know when you've worked with Alex Jones. I have for many, many years, all at once, every single day. Again, he called me almost every night because he's so busy and he's so important. He has to call me every night when I'm trying to just spend time with my family. Quote, he takes over any movement and attacks anyone that steals his spotlight and turns people against them. And that's why Deborah Medina wasn't the governor of Texas and maybe president right now. He killed all the movements. See, what you guys didn't understand and what we saw when I lived in Austin, Texas, anyone that wouldn't swear their fealty to him and InfoWars, singularly, okay, them alone, would be crushed. It would be considered disloyal, especially if you disagreed with something or you weren't holding InfoWars signs and wearing Alex Jones t-shirts. That's considered a slight and you're dead. You are dead to him. He will kill you and not just not support you, which is fine. Most people, most of the activists in Austin, I was so blackballed that he'd call people and threaten them. Brave New Books, John Bush, the whole Deborah Medina campaign. He'd threaten them that if they had anything to do with me, he would not support them. They wouldn't get time on his network and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, talk about a vendetta. That's a vendetta. And that's the kind of person that we were dealing with. And once I saw that, I mean, hey, look, I was around him for a long time, and some of the things I didn't agree with, okay, well, we just don't agree. That's cool. I mean, we just have a different interpretation of what happened. I mean, that's, I'm not unreasonable, right? I want my First Amendment rights too. I want to say what I want to say. I want to have my opinions. You don't own my show. You don't own me. I don't work for you. You don't pay me. I'm going to say what I'm going to say. I was around doing this long before I ever met you, Alex Jones. And I'm going to say what I'm going to say, and you're going to say what you're going to say. And maybe sometimes, and I didn't do it very often, but I might criticize and might have a different opinion than you. One of the things, again, when we were told John Kerry admitted that the towers were blowing up, which was just complete horse hockey and bullshit. What he did say, if you want to know, was that they demolished the last, 18 feet of it. And they took that and spun it and used it to get hits. That's what they do. And I'm hosting his show while that news broke on his website. And his first wife, Violet Jones, calls me during a commercial break and reams me. How dare I disagree with anything on InfoWars? And I'm hosting his show. And I guess, in a way, she has a point. But also, I don't read the entire website before I go slam in at 10 in the morning to do a 3 or 4 hour live talk radio show listened to by a million people. I mean, I got to have other ducks in a row. I can't sit and what if I missed one and I just accidentally had a viewpoint of my own on something? Free speech, whatever. And then I just want to say this real quick. As far as the whole Deborah Medina for governor thing, we would have won. We literally snatched defeat from the jaws of victory, and Alex Jones was responsible for that. He worked with Dan Patrick, lieutenant governor right now, who will be the governor of Texas. Glenn Beck, and others to smear Deborah Medina because she would not, and she had done it all on her own. I knew her entire campaign. Everyone in the Medina campaign were 9/11 truthers and all the rest of it. Her campaign manager, who we initially wanted to run for governor, I'm not going to mention her name, was Ron Paul's campaign manager, who won all those elections when he was winning, and was a Texas congressman. So one of the best people in the world. I mean, their intentions were all good. Everything was good. And she would have been an amazing governor. And yes, I would probably have been the press secretary for the governor of Texas. And we would have started something and a snowball rolling downhill that nobody could have stopped. If you really believe in freedom and the things you profess to believe in, then that's what you would have wanted. So the first day, we're at the Ron Paul birthday party in Galveston, Texas. It was a thing they used to do every year. And there's all kinds of superstar speakers there and thousands of people. And we have the adjoining room, and we're starting off that campaign with a fundraiser. It's an auction. It's a fundraiser. I was hosting it, and Alex Jones told the Deborah Medina people, I'll come over and I'll bless this, and I'll even help with it if you get rid of Jack Blood. And you know what they said? To their credit, no. And we were essentially blackballed. He spread the word through the entire event not to go over there. He took the time to do that. To hurt Deborah Medina, who was a Ron Paul acolyte, who was a libertarian through and through, who would have been a great governor of Texas, in my humble opinion. Certainly better than the guy who did win, the Bilderberger, Rick Perry. You sabotaged all of that over personality, over you not getting credit for it, over you not being able to control it, is what you did. And once that had happened, and then later, despite him not helping her, Deborah Medina, for governor in 2010 at all, she won the debates. She captured the imagination of all the mainstream media in Texas. Everybody was rooting for her. She would have won and had enough votes in the primary to have forced a runoff with Rick Bilderberg Perry, and I think she would have been governor. None of that. Not only did all of that happen without you, but none of that ended up happening because you sabotaged it and wrecked it. I once saw Alex Jones give a speech called The Wreckers, opening one of his movies. Boy, I could write a book about some of this stuff. So I keep thinking as I go back and have like almost a photo recollection of that entire night. I'll just tell you this. And I thought it was one of the best speeches he ever gave. Do you know who the Wreckers are? The Wreckers were basically pirates, and they would put up a fake lighthouse, right? So ships coming, this is, back in the day when everything moved on boats, and the ships would come towards the lighthouse, right? So that they can not get run aground or shipwrecked or whatever else. It was considered a safe place to go. This metaphor can be used on so many different levels, and that's why I like the speech. And then the pirates who put up the fake lighthouse, once the ship would come as attracted to them, for safety, would go out and attack and kill everybody on the boat and steal all their stuff. And so I thought that was a really pertinent and relevant speech. I thought he did a great job delivering it, only to find out not long after that he's the wrecker. He's the wrecker. You will not hear my deposition. It was rather short. I said a lot of things, and it was condensed down by Attorney Bankston, who told me he was Alex Jones' fan somewhat years ago, before all of this. Basically, it said, I thought he was very sloppy in his research. I have documents. He'd never look at them, and just, I guess, whatever I said is what was in the documents. And he would say, I'd be sitting face to face with him in the studio. I'm sure all that's gone now. And they go, I looked at the documents. And, you never did. You never looked. You never checked. You don't check. You just run as fast as you can. And I get it. It's a very complex organization, and you got a lot of irons in the fire and all of that. And I guess he trusted me in that case, but I've seen that happen many, 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 many times. You're very sloppy, and you don't really care about the research. You care about the headlines. That he would say anything to get hits on his website. And I think the other thing, part I put in my deposition was how I personally watched him screw over the people that had books and films and products. And basically, what he would do, this didn't come out on the trial either, but what he would do, I told this to Elizabeth Williamson at the New York Times as well. She just didn't see the relevance in it. But you have to understand what he would do is they put so much pressure on a vendor. Like, say you made a movie, you put all your money and all your time into making a film that he wants to promote and sell. And he'll tell you, I'm taking 90% of the money on. We found out this today in some disclosure that 70% profit off of the food, the survival food tubs they were selling. He said it was 30. It was really 70. Because what they do is they'll call up the vendor and they'll go, look, you want 30% or nothing? You want 10% or nothing? And it's a tough position to be in because I have a book, I have a movie. I mean, I get to be on the Alex Jones show. I mean, 10% of Alex Jones promoting this is better than nothing, right? And they burn out people so much on your book, your movie, your product, or whatever, that you can't even sell it anywhere else. And the next thing you know, you didn't make enough money to make another film, and that's it for you. Bye. And then once that's done and you have nothing else for him to profit off of, he has no more use for you, not taking your calls, and he moves on to the next person and pressures him. Okay, it's not just me that saw this. There were other people, and if I wanted to, I can bring on live witnesses and people that worked at the InfoWars store and did all of that personally. They had an absolute contempt for the people they were promoting and their audience. And so I wrote some of that in my deposition, and it didn't come up. And God, I know, let me just end with this. I know there are Alex Jones fans. I know that not everything he does is completely poison, right? It isn't cancer. I know he used to use that metaphor all the time. There's a little bad apple, a little cancer, spoils the whole brew, however you want to put it. And is there some worth for him? I mean, look, we have to be grown-ups. I treat and have always treated my audience as adults and grown-ups who generally should be able to think for themselves. And it's really kind of not up to me. I'll put out the information, at least I hope, in a somewhat responsible manner, and let people decide and let people be grown-ups and think for themselves. And in this world we're living in right now, that's kind of not okay. Some of the videos you've seen I've posted here, I did one on chemtrails, and YouTube had to put a disclaimer on it, just in case people couldn't think for themselves and do that research. And in case I wasn't thorough enough that I gave both sides of the story in equal time, and, which is hard to do in the eggshell and the context of how we do these broadcasts, so no one's perfect. I'm not saying that, but if you F up to that degree, you F up to a degree where you really hurt people. And that's why I was never a Sandy Hook hoaxer, because I never saw any evidence. I investigated that stuff for myself as an adult. It got put out. I investigated it. I debunked it. I thought it was complete bullshit. And just as it came out in the trial that Jim Fetzer and Wolfgang Halbig were batshit crazy, according to Paul Joseph Watson, and just about anybody over there knew they were sending thousands of crazy emails. Eventually, what happened, as we learned today in the trial, is that Wolfgang Halbig came out and accused Alex Jones of being part of the conspiracy. You see, eventually that's how it goes. People that want attention, or people in the case of Jim Fetzer, and I cannot prove this, but he wrecked the JFK movement, tried to be a wrecker in that. Speaking of wreckers, tried to wreck the 9/11 movement. I watched him do it, watched him personally, been there, and watched him storm on stage and ruin the entire event, like he did with Sandy Hook and like he constantly does. They're crazy. And I'm fine with it. You want to listen to a crazy man. You want to listen to someone who doesn't do research but says he does. You want to listen to someone who can't stop lying or spinning things, even to save his own life and his own empire. Man, far be it from me to tell you not to. I'm not saying that. I don't care. I'll just say this. Once I got off Alex Jones, and this is after he blackballed me and everything that happened, censored me. Okay, the guy you're not supposed to censor, deplatform. He deplatformed me. I lost all my stations in one morning. Just in 1 minute, I lost my entire career thanks to him. Once I got off of it, I realized I still heard everything. I did not need him to wake me up and tell me things because he was stealing it from everyone else. I got it anyway. I was able to look at and interpret news stories for myself. And if not, I would go find someone intelligent like James Corbett or whoever who would do I think, a much better job in the realm of debunking disinformation, correcting the public record, asking the right questions. There's a number of other people I could recommend on that. I was watching Joe Rogan today, and it came up, one of his guests, Ben Franklin, they found a bunch of bodies in his basement, because I mentioned that on a podcast this week, talking about how, our founding fathers were Illuminati, and is that even a bad thing? I mean, I want to have that debate. I'm going to do that, but I mean, here's the biggest podcaster in the world. Never heard of that. He never knew. Joe Rogan today, I just saw this clip, never knew that there were dead bodies, 1,000 bones. They say it's up to 20 dead bodies in the basement of his house in England, which Joe Rogan found quite shocking. Then they read the excuse for it. Well, they were doing medical experiments and grave robbing and that kind of thing. And that's, of course, what they say. What would have been relevant was, and then they did mention very vaguely that he was a Freemason, etc. What they didn't mention, and what people like Joe Rogan just wouldn't know, or his guests, and what you'll never get from a show like that, is that Ben Franklin was in the Hellfire Club. And it's just a fact that they chained people up in dungeons and tortured them. Secret society. Now, did he do it? I mean, but I would think that would be relevant if you're doing 180 or 360 degree information. So that kind of ends all this. And what we'll do is I won't be talking about Alex Jones probably ever again, unless somebody specifically asks me. I might, because I like responding to comments. I think that makes, this broadcast kind of unique in some ways. So, because I do know where the bodies are buried. I do have a 360 degree view of things that have happened. I do have a good memory, not just when it serves me. But what we'll do is we'll talk about the verdict and what damages the jury are going to award to the plaintiffs in this case, and why, and where it moves on from here. So we'll do one more of these, and then from then on, I'll be popping on and we'll be talking about a various breaking news subject, or I love history, so maybe we'll cover that, or hey, maybe I'll just come on and play music for a while. I don't know. That certainly be my prerogative. If you guys want to support what we're doing, I need it. I literally just handed over my entire bank account here on the first of the month to keep myself going. My family is 3,000 miles away. I want to get them back here. It would be really great to have them with me and to continue to grow and to have some halfway decent equipment so we can do this in a way that is at least quasi-professional. jackblood@hotmail.com is my email. And if you use that for PayPal or Zelle, 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 you can do the bank-to-bank transfer. No one gets to get their beak wet in that donation. That would be great. I'll take either one. PayPal or Zelle, jackblood@hotmail.com. If you want to get on my mailing list and be a free blood subscriber, we're going to be doing some stuff into that direction as we move forward in the next couple of months, allegedly, hopefully, if I can stay alive. If you just write me and say, I want to be, I want to be in the free blood subscriber range and kind of get, I'm not going to spam you, I promise, but something that is important, or hook you up with something, or maybe there's something I can do for you, a question I can answer, I'm certainly happy to do that. But I do need your support if you want us to keep doing this and to do it on a level that I think is somewhat competitive. We'll just see how it turns out. Some of you have. Now, I promised to make some very rare blood donor t-shirts. We're just designing them now. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks minimum before I get those and I can start sending them out. I got a great t-shirt guy here in Seattle who's going to do those for us, but I'm not going to make too many. I don't want to get stuck with, I hate that. Some of you guys have bands, you get stuck with a bunch of t-shirts. I don't need that. I'm not going to do that. But I will do like 25 or 30 tops. So the first people that donate, and I've already got about half dozen people that are in on this, that donate $50, jackblood@hotmail.com, PayPal or Zelle, jackblood@hotmail.com, PayPal or Zelle. The first 25 people are guaranteed to get a pretty rare shirt, a blood donor shirt, and you'll be one of the only ones that have that. And then I think we're going to do some limited edition posters after that too. But if that's something that you want, yeah, I know it's a $50 t-shirt. If you guys go to a big Aerosmith show or name your favorite band, Bruce Springsteen, that shirt's going to cost you $100. So yes, I know I'm overcharging for a t-shirt, but it's just a way for me to reward you guys for supporting me. And it's something rare. I see people all the time. They come up and they show me pictures of t-shirts that we did, 10, 15 years ago, and they still wear them and love them. So, it's something that kind of brings back memories and puts you, it kind of time stamps, where you're at in your life. And I kind of see it like that, but you'll be one of 25 people or so right now that will have them. And I'm not going to, if I make another shirt, it will be a different one. So you'll be the only ones that have that $50 donation, jackblood@hotmail.com. Yeah, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it to not spend money to do this. You get the difference? I don't want to, I shouldn't have to pay to give you guys opinions that you don't have anywhere else, is how I look at it. So if you like what I do, again, the live show is tomorrow at 3 o'clock Pacific time. That is 6 o'clock Eastern time on Ochelli.com. Ochelli, Ochelli.com. Rockabilly guitar player extraordinaire, superstar Deke Dickerson is joining us on that show. I like to just bring in some artists to kind of break things up. And then I've got some other guests. I'm afraid to even tell you who they are, so they don't get doxxed before the show tomorrow. But hopefully it's a 2-hour live show with minimal breaks in it. And hopefully you'll enjoy that too at Ochelli.com, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock Pacific time every Thursday. And then that's reposted on Ochelli Effect. I have them here on this YouTube channel somewhere. They don't really let me post stuff like that too much. So we'll see how it goes. I could re-record it, but then again, I'm a guy who makes, $20-30 an hour at my job. I kind of don't like doing stuff for free, but I will if it helps people, if it's edifying and it's something you guys enjoy. If you just let me know, I'll do that. Just real quick on that's called Value for Value, as we used to say on the No Agenda channel, and Karma. Unit or two of blood, karma tomorrow. Yeah, jackblood@hotmail.com. That is PayPal or Zelle. I printed the ones 10 gig. Oh, Cart Graphics. You're the ones that did my last shirts and a bunch of shirts for me. God, good to see you, man. Write me on my email and let's just catch up. I want to find out how you're doing. Victoria, speaking of the old No Agenda channel, Victoria Pandora. Yeah, it's good to see you. Thank you for saying it's good to hear me. I appreciate that. And then my old friend Russell Gentili, tuned in. I'm listening from the beginning. Thanks for doing this. I'll just say this. Jones commentating on the trial outside of his show is moronic, and it shows how dipshit crazy he is. I know, it's just you can't control himself. Can't even stop to save his own life. I mean, that's just not somebody I trust. All right. I really appreciate you guys. Until next time, shine bright, you crazy diamonds, and stay bold.